I do note today, though, regrettably, that the Labor Party has engaged in fearmongering during a pandemic, and I think this is disgraceful. They are saying things that are blatantly untrue. I've made it very clear that there would be a further stage of income support, and to make people feel more uncertain in this climate, I think is disgraceful, and I think it reflects badly on their leadership. Yep.
The cap on Australians returning home, how will that actually be administered? Are the airlines being told, given quotas, that you can only return so many people? Will there be a sort of a triage system, priority given perhaps to women and children, the elderly, the sick, things like that? How do you envisage it?
In the same way that it's been put in place until now. So there'll be no changes. There already are restrictions on it right now, and it'll be handled the same way with the airlines and the priorities that are done through the Australian Border Force that exists right now.
Prime Minister, isn't the effect of the cap that Australian citizens will be effectively barred from coming to Australia? Is that unfair to some? Do you share frustrations of people?
Well, you have to make judgments in the national interest. There will be capacity for people to return to Australia, as there has been now for many months. And so there will be continuing access to Australia, but the number of available positions on flights will be less. And I don't think that is surprising or unreasonable in the circumstances that we find ourselves in. We have to put the national interest first and the health of Australia first and Australians, and that's the basis of the decision that we've taken. And if we're in a position to expand that capacity again in the future, then we will do so. But we will do that on the basis of the advice that we're receiving on the quarantine task that's there, but the many other tasks which right now are focused more on the issue of testing and tracing to contain the outbreak. So we'll respond to their health needs. Yeah?
ADF has been offered to boost Victoria's tracing and monitoring team. Has that offer been taken up by Daniel Andrews yet? And if not, are you confident that they have the ability to control this outbreak? And just on the review of hotel quarantine, do you have any reason to believe that any other states have had any significant breaches? Do you believe that there's any issues in other states?
Well, I have no reason to. The review is not being initiated because of that suspicion. The review is being initiated on the basis of good advice from the medical expert panel and good practice. And that's why we're initiating that review. If there are issues that are identified as part of that process, then that would be its purpose, to discover those things and to address them where necessary. I think that is a matter of good practice. In relation to testing and tracing support, the Victorian government will have everything they need, not just from the Commonwealth, but also from all states and territories. So they are not short of anything they need from any part of any government in Australia, and that was reaffirmed to them today. And which requirements the Victorian government seek to be filled is a matter for them, and that question is better directed to the Premier.
And in relation to the Prime Minister, it still seems that the gold standard is human beings rather than technology. Do you think that you oversold the benefits of the app? Is there any emerging signs in Melbourne that the application is becoming more useful? And if Professor Kelly could also answer in relation to those claims that the two clusters in the towers and in the college are linked, do we know where it started?
Well, in relation to your first question, Sam, no, I don't share your view. I think the two work together. They were always intended to work together, and they are working together. And that's why I would continue to encourage people, wherever you happen to be, to download the COVID Safe app. And in most parts of the country, I mean, there are no community transmission cases, so therefore you wouldn't expect it to be having a high level of use. It is being used in Victoria, and the other methods of tracing are also being used, and the two work together.